But we can't quite talk of them making music. But man has, more or less from the dawn of time. Using instruments began before recorded history. This strange sort of music dates from more recent times. These music boxes are some 100 years old. Once upon a time in the Netherlands, sometime in the 14th century it is thought, the country became particularly musical, thanks primarily to the carillon, and thanks to the barrel organ, a country of street music. There are still people who write music for them. They call themselves notemen or barrel organ music makers. Tom Meijer is such a noteman and arranger of barrel organ music. His organ music books are born in a small room in the southwest of Amsterdam. Tom Meijer has just received some organ music on a cassette, Two Eyes So Blue. He was asked if he could make a special organ book from it. These organ books are the zigzag perforated sheets that control the airflow to the pipes and thus make the music. By measuring the time or rhythm, he knows how much book he will end up with. He measures carefully, 3.5 meters a minute. After 24 bars, the song, Two Eyes So Blue, is on the roll, and he can cut off the paper. Next, he cuts off a piece to size. There are actually both large and small organs, so large and small organ books. Then he puts in the bars. Depending on the music, they're at a different distance from each other. Here the gap space is 18 millimeters, the same as for a waltz. For a tango, you need 30 millimeters. The swing is missing, but what came in its place is something classic. This is his only assistant in setting out the melody, the so-called gamma. It helps with the arranging. For a particular note, a line is made, the length of the line determining the length of the note. He doesn't work from paper music. After the melody, the counter melody, the bass part, and the ornaments as the high tinkling sounds of the organ are called. And the music is rolled up for transport. But before he cuts the holes in the book sheets, another task has to be completed: copying an existing arrangement from template to organ book. You copy or write with the help of special stain and a brush. The template already has its music holes. Remember, the longer the strip, the longer the note. It is a copy of a vulnerable piece. You might look at the template as a sort of preservation hall. You can save the original books. Street organ music was often sentimental, songs that were full of life's and love's impressions. But it was also music that had a touch of heavy rhythm, and people of every period have enjoyed that. The advantage of organ books over earlier methods of program storage is easy to guess. One could make books as thick as one liked, and thus determine how long a piece of music would last. Other musical instruments were limited by the single rotation of the wooden roll or metal cylinder. The song was finished after but one turn of the roll. These are much older examples of mechanical music. Each instrument has its own characteristic sound source: cylinder, paper roll, and sheet. The key is the central axle. The type of wood and construction largely determine the sound of the instrument. composer of the music usually remained anonymous. He didn't etch his name into the metal. The creation was saved, but the creator remained an unknown. Signing a disc was unheard of. It just wasn't done. We return to Arranger Tom, who is busy converting the stained stripes of Two Eyes So Blue into holes in the special organ music card. These will give the music a place to hole up. He sticks the paper template to the organ card. The template is saved just in case. And when everything is in place, the cutter is driven carefully through it. This cutting used to be done by women. Each week, dozens of cutting machines punched out more organ music. The work has now become that of the specialist. If you miss a hole, then you tape it off and punch again, he says soberly, while he works meticulously, casually bringing a piece of history to life. It began here with the carillons. Sometime around 1350, the automatic bell towers began ringing for medieval folk. I've got to change the cutting head. By using a different size, you can cut out different note lengths in the card. You can compare the old automatic music machines to today's computers, continues Tom with his history. Actually, carillonneurs play a preset program. The 100-meter-high Dom Tower in Utrecht, for example, dates from 1666 and has a playing mechanism with 66,000 program points. More than enough to play a new tune for months. So, we will now save the roll as an archive piece and harden the holes with shellac. Otherwise, you can kiss your work goodbye. But before we listen to the test of the organ book, let's look in on the barrel organ builder. This is where the bellows or lungs are installed. It is really a wind instrument, you see. Via the crankshaft, you move the bellows up and down. And by turning the wheel, you not only force air through the pipes, but turn the pages of the organ book as well. Here, the organ builder is testing two pipes. They must play the same note. If you double all of the pipes, it gives the total sound of the barrel organ more body. The air ducting is connected. And when all of the vents and keys work well and the pipes play in tune, further work can be done on the mechanical brain. Many of the mechanical art pieces are kept in what used to be the Dutch Reformed Boer Church in Utrecht, part of the Museum for Automatic Musical Instruments. Here we meet Tom Meijer playing his well-known melody on the piano again, and then testing his role on a small hand organ. The connection between hole and sound can be clearly seen. After the test tones, the organ tones of two lovely black eyes. It seems so simple. Turn the wheel to play the melody. Actually, it requires feeling and experience. Without them, it plays out of tune, or not at all. And though a Dutchman considers the organ a part of his culture, and foreigners imagine it side by side with tulips, windmills, wooden shoes, cheese and dikes, it's not exactly justified. Arabians coaxed beautiful tones from a water organ around 870 AD. And in 1206, the Arab Al-Jazari was playing it well. It was also well known to the English. Around 1600, Queen Elizabeth I made a gift of one to the Sultan of Turkey, Mohammed III. And since the year 1500, people in Salzburg have been familiar with a frightening organ whistle. This morning call, the major chord of FAC, arose from 150 pipes to wake the city's citizens. Haydn, the famous composer, was particularly intrigued by the organ. Things that couldn't be played by hand were no problem for the automatic organ. Princes were crazy about their flute hour. Mozart wrote organ music as well, but actually considered the sound ugly. In the 19th century, the organ left the palaces. It started to entertain the common people. Horns and bells and drums and flutes. At carnivals, exhibitions and festive occasions. The Belgians knew what to do. Organs as big as the wall of a ballroom. So they were called dance organs. And in the Netherlands? When everyone else was growing tired of them, the Dutch saw marketing potential. They leased them out. But after the Second World War, the jukebox, radio and record player supplanted the organ. Nonetheless, the Dutch kept the showpiece in the street. There it found its rightful place, playing folk songs and entertaining the world. Listen. Two Eyes So Blue, arranged by Tom Meijer. The magnificent creations of Carl Frey especially made the Netherlands the country of street organs in the minds of most. On the front, like other organ builders, he incorporated themes from the Dutch landscape. And though the organ has a wide international background, nowhere else has it become the national folk instrument it is in the Netherlands. One reason? A special species still survives here, the barrel organ music maker.
And there's more from Made by Man at 2:15 tomorrow.